And your hosts today are Raven Gray leading our conversation, Paul Reffell answering the phones, and I'm Mary Frank.
And when you call in, you'll hear a funny noise as we put you into the system. Just hang on until you hear me say, "You're on the air," and then please give us your first name and turn down your radio. And please watch that language. We don't want any bad language on the air now.
So today, again, this is Raven Gray. We're talking about the Dakota Access Pipeline. This is an update and also a chance for you to hear some news straight from the ground at SR, at Standing Rock, and to dispel some of the myths and other rumors that are coming out into the mainstream press. I'll be leading the conversation, and I would love you to call in and join the conversation with me and Mary and Paul by calling us on 415-663-8492. So to get us started, I mean, a lot has happened. We were here last week. It's really hard for me to keep up with all the news. It seems like it's a very fast-moving story that's unraveling, or rather unfolding, emerging there. I'll just click on a few highlights and maybe we can go into some more details. But let's see, we had December the 5th, right, was the eviction order. Mm-hmm. By the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then over the weekend, December 3rd and December 4th, we had apparently I've heard reports of 4,000 to 4,500 U.S. veterans showed up at the main camp, Oceti Sakowin, and they were part of the group Veterans for Standing Rock, and they began arriving at the camp to relieve the regular water protectors, but then were told to stay in the camp and not take part in any actual direct actions up at the bridge, only peaceful prayers. And then on the 4th, the next day, there was a beautiful, peaceful ceremony of everybody joining hands and, standing around joining hands and encircling the main camp, Oceti Sakowin camp. And then all the mainstream media showed up, funnily enough, CNN, BBC, Fox News, every single media channel was there, I think. And at that exact moment, the news came through that Obama and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers denied the easement to DAPL to allow the pipeline to cross Lake Oahe, which is the last piece they have to construct, effectively halting work on the pipeline. And so everybody cheered, and there was fireworks and celebrations, and it was jubilant, and all the media went home and reported, wonderful victory, we can all go home now. And then the tribal chief, Archambault II, released a statement telling protesters it was all over and you can all leave the camps. Nothing's going to happen over the winter. We can unpack that a bit more. Then we had blizzard. If you've been watching the news, a huge blizzard came in. A lot of people had to leave the camp because they weren't prepared for such brutal winter conditions. A bunch of other elders stood forward and said, no, please don't leave. We need you to stay. And now, the next day, by the way, that was December the 6th, I think, the ETP, Energy Transfer Partners, then filed ordered another emergency court hearing in Washington. I think it's taking place on Friday, that they intend to push the pipeline through. Meanwhile...
Yes, and I just want to insert here that Jeff, who is on the legal team, said that the grounds of that suit is you've given us the permit and now you can't pull it. That was like basically the essence of what they want to say.
And Jeff works for the Water Protector Legal Collective, formerly known as the Red Owl Collective.
And he was going to call in, but he was snowbound. He couldn't get out of Bismarck, and he's finally out today in order to go home to come back tomorrow. So anyway.
He hasn't sent any updates.
Well, I just talked to him before the show.
Okay, great.
And so what he said is that, the basis of the suit in D.C. is that they're challenging that the court can't pull this petition once it's been granted. So... we don't know how that's going to go. He said maybe everybody's waiting until Trump comes in, who's probably going to give an executive order to expedite everything, which is very possible. But he made a point that in terms of putting pressure, that us putting pressure on the banks that gave the bank loans is super important. And as a footnote here, I'd like to say that Wells Fargo has had so many people pull their money out that they're now reaching out and they want to meet with the tribes. I think it's, just a hollow PR stunt, knowing how things go. But I'm saying it specifically because keep that happening, people. Money seems to get their attention more than anything else. And the fact that people have pulled their monetary support out of these institutions is extremely important to keep this pressure up. And there was some confusion about leaving the court. And Raven, I think you have the latest word on that. Jeff's understanding, leaving the camp. Jeff's understanding was that it was so bitterly cold that some people were asked to leave, the elders and the children. But apparently that's been updated as well.
Well, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe chief, Archibald II, who's a very humble and honorable and, a kind man, an honest man. And here's a quote from him. He said, "We deeply appreciate all the people who supported us with their presence, but when this storm passes, it is time to dismantle the camp and return to our homes. If the camp stays where it is currently located, people are risking their lives. Once one person is hurt or property is destroyed, that will lead to more outsized actions by law enforcement. The longer the camp stays, the greater risk we run of seeing further violence at the hands of law enforcement and potential injury to our supporters." And I think he issued a statement, a press release, and a video that went viral all over YouTube. And it did affect a lot of people. I saw a lot of people were saying, that's it, the tribal chief has spoken, we should leave. A lot of white ally type people as well were like, well, we're not going to go now. And, this is what he has said, and we should listen up. However, in response to that, one of the founders is LaDonna Bravebull, and she posted her own response to say, absolutely not. We need you now more than ever. This is just the beginning. This is a ruse. We cannot leave the camp at this time. And, some other elders there also released video statements. Chase Iron Eyes, who works with the Lakota People's Law Project, has been a very strong voice on the ground there. And he said, some people are standing down, packing up, leaving, calling the easement denial a victory, while DAPL moved to force the court to allow it to drill. The hearing is on Friday. The roadblock is still up, people. Militarized presence by DAPL is ongoing. It's never been easy. The majority of our people were chilling out on the res when Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse were out defending our rights. I get it. Be safe. Those who are infirm go home, but the reality is thousands are staying here, and they're here sacrificing for us because DAPL won't stand down. They need our courage right now, not our doubt. That's it. We help when it gets tough. We don't run. It's going to be dangerously cold for the next week, according to the forecast. So we all need to mobilize to respond to this emergency.
Yeah, and they spread like wildfire, the media, that everybody's going home and breaking camp, which is just what DAPL wants, because if nobody's there, they can do whatever they want, and the press is gone.
And there is a military buildup.
Yes.
There, right?
Well, that I can confirm as well. I had some drone footage, even though there's still, I believe, a drone ban in operation. Somebody did fly a drone. Renegade Media is their name. You can look them up on Facebook or on the internet. Renegade Media had drone footage from 2 days ago showing that there was an increased militarized presence building 1 mile behind the police blockade. So there's a police blockade, as people know, on the 1806 coming south from Bismarck, which is where we saw all the hideous violations of human rights taking place with the police firing the water cannons and things. That's called the Backwater Bridge. And the police said they would step back from that, which they have, but they've only gone a mile back. And the increased militarized presence that I saw on these videos, the drone footage, I counted 24 armored Hummers, they looked like. That's the National Guard, I believe. And these giant army tents that were just spreading dark green across the land. And I thought, what on earth is in there? All kinds of police cars and other vehicles too. And that is building now. So, if they did deny the easement, and, DAPL are going to respect that, why haven't they stopped, why haven't they haven't they gone home for Christmas?
Because it's $3.8 billion, and they aren't going to go down without fighting this tooth and nail and do whatever they can, knowing that there's a new president coming in who is invested in the pipeline, who is probably going to give them everything they want. So the race against time is very critical here, because I believe the bank loan deadline is January 8th. I know it's in January. I think it's the 8th. So they are pushing to get this through before the bank loans
What's the bank loan deadline?
These are the people. It's in January. I'm not exactly sure.
But what do you mean by the bank loan?
Well, we'll give you this money, but see, one of the problems that Jeff said was when they put these loans, granted these loans to DAPL, okay, the price of
banks are
who's they? Yeah, let's talk about
the Sunoco and
all the banks in the world, basically.
Yeah,
all the big banks.
and
I have a list of them here.
But the wait a minute, this is important, guys.
Yeah,
we're coming back to it.
I'm trying to.
We want to know.
I'm trying to. When they granted these loans, the price of oil was almost double what it is now, and so there's added pressure, because they're afraid some of these people are going to back out.
So we're talking about the big banks in the world there's Scotland and all over, Japan and all the big American banks are loaning money to the pipeline corporations.
But the biggest ones the biggest, we mentioned those before.
Okay, and there's a deadline coming up on payback for the loan?
Well, it should be done by now, not payback. It's like to extend this would cause, it would be in question, because the price of oil is almost in half. Has gone down almost in half of what it was originally. So it's a much less attractive loan, you see.
So what happens if the deadline passes and they haven't finished the pipeline?
They have to get new sources of funding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're going to have to back that up. I'm not buying it.
That's what I heard from Jeff. I'm just giving you what his words were. That there's a huge pressure because of the loans coming, whatever it is, mature or whatever. You have so much time. We'll give you this money for so much time.
Are you talking about Energy Transfer Partners? Which company are you talking about?
The banks who are giving the loans to the people building the pipeline.
Who used to be ETP.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a possible. What do we think might happen if? They're not going to stop Jeff, because the money's.
I said, well, what is the chance of this lawsuit, working? And he said nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. He says maybe 40% in terms of what they could do, but that's a guess.
Yeah.
That's a guess.
Give us a call, 415-663-8492. Let us know what you're thinking about the latest news on the pipeline, and if you have any views at all, or thoughts or opinions, if you have more news that we don't know about, give us a call, or just call up and say hi. We love that. 415-663-8492.
Here's what. So there's a lot of different camps within camps at Standing Rock, but there's Oceti Sakowin is the Council of Seven Fires. It is the main camp, and there are a group of people there. They call themselves the Common Man Society. That's Ikte Wichasa Uyate. They're the security team. They hold prayers and they keep everybody safe. And when the chief released that statement asking people to leave, they pointed out, and I want to quote this because I think it's important. They want to point out that the Oceti Sakowin, which is the thousands and thousands of people camped there, is led by the Seven Council Fires. It is not led by the Tribal Council. So even though Archambault is speaking out, he doesn't actually have any authority to tell the Seven Council Fire what to do. The Seven Council Fires are the headsmen, and the Tribal Council, they point out on their website, is a colonial system of governance. And they also point out that, that even though the council might say, that people should leave, the Tribal Council, they said that we're not going to follow them. When the headsmen say go, when the people of the Seven Council Fires say, let's go, then we will go. And it says that the Tribal Council needs to respect the headsmen. The Tribal Council has authority over the reservation politics, and it was put in place by outsiders. And I think that's an important distinction, that, the Oceti Sakowin is not on the reservation. It's on treaty land, and it's a spiritual camp led by the spiritual leaders. And so the security and everybody I know there is following their direction and not the tribal council.
Well, that's interesting. Is there a suspicion that Archambault has been bought out in some way, or do you think he really has people's...
I think he's I saw him. I don't know him. I'm obviously just some white European woman. I'm not... I do know that there's a lot of politics on the ground, and I think that I watched his video, and personally, my personal take was he looked kind of sad and a little bit uncomfortable speaking out. So maybe some people were saying, yes, bribery. I was wondering if he had been threatened. I mean, that's not beyond reason, as maybe I mean, I was threatened, and I am nobody. I haven't really done anything. And
they're threatening as many people as they can.
And I've been witnessing as well the hideous... Some people are posting live feeds of racist attacks that are happening in Bismarck. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievably violent. And then, of course, the murder, genocide, rape of Indigenous people is ongoing. It's much higher than the black communities, and much higher than the white communities. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had received some kind of guidance about what statement to issue. I mean, it's not really a coincidence, is it, that all the media showed up, all the mainstream media, and then the veterans showed up, and they had this entire world watching this beautiful prayer ceremony that we just won. Now we can all go home. And then he releases that statement to say, that's it, we won, let's go home. I smell a rat.
Yeah. Well, Energy Transfer Partners stated that they are fully committed to, and this is a quote, fully committed to ensuring that this vital project is brought to completion, and fully expect to complete construction of the pipeline without any additional rerouting in and around Lake Oahe. Nothing this administration has done, meaning the not granting the easement, changes that in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's about money, but they certainly don't want to lose.
Well, a lot of it has to do with money. Once anything is $3.2 billion, they're going to stay pretty radical and violent to make that through. We've seen this over and over and over again. This is an old tape. That's how they play.
So now, what if the unthinkable happens and they do not drill under Lake Oahe and they find another route that takes them away from the indigenous reservation, from the Indian reservation up there, Standing Rock and all, does not cross their territory? Then what? Who's going to protest it then? We don't want them still up there protesting.
No, but I think
Are we going to try and stop the pipeline completely, or are we going to say it's okay if they go by Bismarck and take another route?
I think this whole event is going to be a new model for how we come up against these things. It's a new model. It's proven all kinds of amazing... But,
yeah.
Okay. Had a little interruption there. So I don't know, but it's what this has proven. I mean, with the veterans making that line and saying, we were in, I think this is important to mention again, we were in Afghanistan. Why are you using military weapons against peaceful protesters who are praying all day on their sacred land for the rights of water to 17 million people? They formed a line and said, you're going to have to kill us first. So this was quite dramatic. Oh, we have a caller. Let's take the caller.
Keep going. No, keep going.
Well, I just think it's important to mention how amazing these guys have been, and women.
Absolutely. Anyway, yes, caller, you are on the air. What's your name, please?
Susan.
Hi,
Susan.
Susan. What's your language, please? We have to say.
Hi, Susan.
My language, I couldn't stay on the air. Well, you guys, it's a great program.
Thanks.
And Mary, you brought up a really good point just now, and I'm curious as to how you all feel about if this is a new way of how we're going to approach things with the new administration and how we're, events such as this. I was thinking, how are they going to approach events like this, the protests like this? You talked about the deadline with the pipeline, if it doesn't get, started, and the ramifications with these big money people.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, how will they, and as you notice, Trump's administration is very militarized. How will they start handling the protests? My sister and I were seriously thinking about going to the Million Woman March on the 21st, the day after the inauguration. And the more we thought about it, the more we started thinking, fear started setting in that there's probably going to be a lot of violence on that weekend.
Well, look at the March on Washington. You know, the safety is in numbers. If there are enough people that show up, they can't do certain things. History has told us that. I think it's very important that as many people show up as possible. We don't know, but their biggest weapon is making us scared to death to do anything, and we can't be. You know, I'm a relic from the 60s and was right on the front lines many, many times, got arrested, got hurt, you know, the whole bit, and the safety was always with how many people showed up. And what we learned with that, you know, in some of the demonstrations, that the first person to throw a bottle through a window was usually the FBI or the CIA because, you know, they've infiltrated, they're directing how this goes, they're making it look violent so that, you know, the people who are protesting seem, you know, out of control when that has been fomented by that. So that is, you know, that's a possibility. But I've always felt, and my experiences have taught me, that they have the money, but we have us. And that is our most powerful weapon. If we have enough people standing up, just like we did in the 60s. You know, we went through a lot, but guess what? There's the war in Vietnam stopped. So, you know, but this is a new model, and I think it reflects a much bigger shift that needs to happen, which is, and I don't want to get too woo-woo here, but it's like, we have lost and this is why it's so incredible that it is the Native Americans who have taught this. There has to be a shift in consciousness from things to the heart. And their whole community is based on that. And until we recognize that we're all connected, we are all one, just like nature knows that, right? We're not going to be as effective until we do connect with that. And this whole event gives us an opportunity to have that kind of commitment. So I don't like it, but I know on the other hand I do like it because it's like that Shakti energy that has caused this shock that brings in change. Does that kind of answer your question?
Oh yeah, it does. It's great, and you are right about that. That you know they are more and more into getting us into that state of fear. And I have to say, I had to look at myself and say, wow, I had never felt this way before. That I'm fearful, and I really have to tell you, I'm somewhat ashamed to admit that. That you know we were all gun ho, and the more we thought about it, and we are also 60 kids, my sister and I, and you know, I've been in many protests, and it's like, but oh man, now it's like,
yeah, but don't that fear that you feel rising in you has been very carefully orchestrated, and knowing that hopefully will give you heart to move forward, because that's what they do. They come in and make that's why the guys throw the bottles through the windows in the demonstrations. They make you feel, and I'm not saying there isn't a possibility of that. I mean, people got hurt at Standing Rock, you know, but again, the more people that we have standing up, the more protection there is for everybody.
Absolutely. And if we don't, who knows what will happen in the future, in the near future.
It's coming up.
Well, you know, it's so interesting with the, again, back to indigenous culture, you know, they talk about the 4 directions and the wheel, north, south, east, and west. Each presents a complementary way to use fear-based reactivity, despair, and depression as vehicles of opportunity to transform our inner states, empowering creative, love-based responses that engender positive action toward meaningful social change. And this is the paradigm shift that I believe is called for, that I see a demonstration of, and hopefully that we will use to move forward.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great show. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so
Susan.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. Yes, please do call in 415-663-8492. Let us know your thoughts and fears and opinions and any news that we've missed out on about the Dakota Access Pipeline, which, of course, is not the only pipeline being built in the world. And
do you have some updates on that? I didn't really research that, although I know that there's hundreds.
Yeah, there's one coming up in Canada that's going to be crossing native lands, of course, heading out. It's the tar sands heading west to the western coast of out to Vancouver, I believe. And through to Wisconsin, right through the heart of Anishinaabe territory and some of the best lakes and wild rice beds in the world. So who's going to protest that? Do we leave it to the Native Americans to do that, the Indigenous Peoples, or, part of the thing, what I put out in my email this week about this show was maybe a little snarky about white folks kind of appropriating the culture of the Indigenous peoples because it's so colorful, and I think that's part of the attraction to this cause, is that apart from seeing the bravery of these people on the front lines and the ridiculous overreaction to their protesting, people are making pilgrimages up there in their SUVs and 4x4s and, oil-driven cars going up to protest an oil pipeline. Now, how do we deal with that disconnect, that we're all part of the problem anyway, and the reason the oil is coming south is to feed us and other parts of the world?
I think it's a question of degree. If you're going to drive your car up to help protest and protect, so be it. We're not dumping hundreds of thousands of barrels of gook into our drinking sources. So, we live in the modern age. We're going to be in a car. Of course, we're not all going to be on horseback again. I don't mean that, but it's a question of degree.
And there is a huge movement there at Standing Rock, which I witnessed, to compost the waste and build composting toilets and lots of solar panels. There's a lot of off-grid people there working hard to transition away from fossil fuels. There's an eco-village being built on Resland, I think, near to Cannonball, and there's quite a bit of money that's been raised for that, and they're looking to build a permanent village. The Indigenous Environmental Network and some other partners are doing that. So I think people are questioning that, but the transition is challenging, isn't it, for all of us?
It is. It is.
And as for that other piece that you said about the colourful culture, but we're on their land, so I think that also speaks to people's hearts. It's like a recognition that we are, not my ancestors, I'm not actually from this country, but other people, white people that live here now, their ancestors stole this land and through, murder, basically.
Well, yeah, it's just that you see other oil spills, you see chemical spills that are not on tribal lands, that are not being protested by good-looking guys with long hair and beaded waistcoats and all that, which is wonderful. I think it's great that they're doing it, of course. But isn't that part it? We've sort of appropriated this as a white guy's thing, and we're not noticing that over in Richmond, when there's an oil spill or a chemical leak, nobody goes over there to help the black
some
people.
Of us do.
Yeah, and
but not in thousands.
I'm sorry, but the thing is, it's happened. There always has to be a first, and this is the first. And quite frankly, how thrilling it is that this highlights, this incredible history of the sin of the United States, genocidal treatment of indigenous inhabitants. It has its place because somebody had to go first, and it's true. I want to repeat something I said last night the last week, because I think it addresses just how thick and the black snake is, as they call it. How the oil companies are dealing. There's a spill right now that's just 200 miles away from Standing Rock, a huge spill that just happened a few days ago. And what happens is, and this is a repeat, but I think it's worth repeating, is that they all know they leak all the time. but it's not enough to set off the alarms. So what happens is, okay, 10,000 gallons into this lake, 20,000 gallons into this river. So it goes on and on and on for about 5 years. At the 5-year point, that's a relative date, there's a huge leak. Then the insurance companies come in, they hire the cleanup crews, and guess who owns the cleanup crews? The oil companies. They own all the equipment and the companies that are cleaning up the oil. But we have another caller.
We do. Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hello. It's Kurt Levy calling here from Ontario, Canada.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much.
Yes, apparently Raven's on the show.
Yes, that's me. I recognize you from Facebook.
Right, and I appreciate being able to follow your work.
Thank you.
Look forward to your posts. I wanted to ask you if you could sort of speak to what I see as a bit of a leadership vacuum there at the moment. Who's speaking sort of for the strategies that are going on there? Who's on the ground that we should be following and monitoring to be updated from time to time?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. There's division at have you been at Standing Rock, Kurt?
I haven't. No, I would love to come there, but I don't have a current passport.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's division outside in the media and the Facebook communities, as you probably are aware, and then there's division within the camp as well. And some of that, I think, I was there for a number of weeks, is created by it's a strategy to divide and conquer, to get people bickering and fighting amongst themselves. I personally witnessed instigators coming in. And as I said earlier on the show, I myself experienced a threat from the general. I've forgotten his name, but I looked him up, and it was on Facebook, and he was the general of the special forces in charge of U.S. domestic terrorism. And, when I first got the message from him, I burst into tears and shut down and freaked out. I thought, oh, my God, they're going to come and get me. They're going to get my son. And then after about an hour of that, I was like, what? What? I can't swear on the air, but I was like, I'm not going to have that, and I rose up even stronger as an even stronger voice, and I thought, I'm not going to be intimidated. But I think there is and I'm white. Imagine the intimidation that some of these Indigenous leaders are experiencing. I mean, I've seen some of the brutality online. There's a lot more that we don't get to see. I personally am following, I said this earlier on the show, I'm personally following Chase Iron Eyes. He's a politician who stood... Do you know who I'm talking about? Chase Iron Eyes.
Yes, yeah, I'm linked up there too.
Yeah, I really love everything that man speaks. He's a strong warrior, and he's definitely in a leadership role. He runs or works in the Dakota Peoples Law Project. He has a website called The Last Real Indians. I think that's a Facebook as well. And I also was, a supporter of the Indigenous Environmental Network. I'm not sure how much of a leadership role they're playing, but I also follow LaDonna Bravebull because...
But the Indigenous Network, that Jeff said that is a pretty good source for accurate...
It's a good source.
A pretty good source for accurate information.
I'm telling you as an activist and a warrior who is speaking to warriors on the ground there, the Indigenous Environmental Network are not taking a really stand strong in their messages. It is strong. They're just saying, hold up, chill out, take a chill pill. Chief Archambault is, he's got your best interests in heart. But I haven't heard a really strong message from them saying, stand strong, warriors. The fight is just beginning. This is the time to stand up, not stand down. That's what Chase Iron Eyes is saying. And also LaDonna Bravebull. And the Indigenous Youth Council, who started this, are also saying that. Oceti Sakowin, 7 council fires. I've heard some statements from them. You can go to their website or their Facebook. They also are saying, stand strong. The warriors I mentioned earlier on the ground, the people that hold the security there, are like, no, we're going to take a strong stand here.
What about Dallas Goldtooth's site? That seems pretty
Dallas
good, too.
Goldtooth works for the Indigenous Environmental Network.
But I mean, he has a separate thing, too, doesn't he?
He does, but what I'm telling you here that I've experienced in watching their messages, and I love them, and they're good people, I just don't feel that fierce, strong stand warrior message coming from them. So, Kurt, I don't know if I'm answering your questions, but, I go to some of the Indigenous warriors' live feeds and pay very close attention. And did I mention that Facebook censors almost everything I post?
And they take stuff down?
And they took several of my posts down yesterday. And I have 2,300 friends that used to follow me closely, and now I don't seem to have any. It's like I'd be lucky if 3 people see my posts, and sometimes nobody does. If I post a picture of my cute son with a puppy, then everybody sees it. I smell a rat. I do.
Yeah, just saying, I do appreciate your work, and certainly we'll be following you further.
Thanks,
but
Kurt.
any sort of pointers that you can share there, I certainly try to share.
Thank you.
Especially now to refocus some of the strategies. Anything you can share in that is much appreciated. I wish you well, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much for calling in. Also, Chief Arvil Looking Horse, by the way, he just released a video statement saying that this is the time to stand up, not stand down. So that's worth looking for.
Okay, you're listening to Let's Talk with co-host Raven Gray, Paul Reffell, and I'm Mary Frank. And please share your views by calling 415-663-8492 or tweet us at Let's Talk on KWMR.
And that is the phone number for Studio A in KWMR in Point Reyes Station, 90.5, 89.9 in Bolinas, 92.3 in San Geronimo Valley. And media support for KWMR is provided by the Point Reyes Light, an independent and locally owned newspaper telling West Marin's stories since 1948. Featuring award-winning reporting, essays, opinions, a community events calendar, and the sheriff's calls. Office and newsroom open Monday through Thursday in downtown Inverness. Subscription, classifieds, calendar, and advertising information, plus letters to the editor forms are available at ptreyslight.com. That's PTREYES light.com, or at 415-669 1200. And we'd also like to thank Web Perception, an internet service provider supplying West Marin businesses and individuals with internet connection services, serving West Marin and the entire Bay Area since 1997, and offering professional installations, usually within 5 to 7 days. Information at 415-892-7711 or online at webperception.com. So, yeah, give us a call, 415-663-8492. When you call in, you'll hear a funny noise as I press a button to get you into the system. Just hang on until you hear me say you're on the air, then turn down your radio, give us your first name, and please watch that language.
Right, back over to the conversation. We're talking about the Dakota Access Pipeline and various issues connected to that. I could take this conversation in a number of different ways, but I do hope that somebody will call in and give your questions or comments. One thing Kurt mentioned about the who's leading from the ground there, and I don't actually know since I'm not there, but I am speaking with people there, and I want to reiterate that this is an Indigenous-led movement. So if you're a white person or non-native, even black, and you show up there, or it's your responsibility to raise that Indigenous voice and not to interject your own voice or your own opinions. I mean, there's a lot of division that I haven't been there for a few weeks now, so I feel like I'm pretty out of touch. But I can assure you, I went there and I left just before Thanksgiving, otherwise known as Thanks-taking, which I'm glad I left before that, because I can only imagine how hideous that must have been. But my own experience was I witnessed over and over again these people, white privilege, white supremacy, white cultural insensitive behavior. Mm-hmm. It was horrible.
There was a post, I can't remember the author of that post, but he gave a tremendous, it was actually a YouTube video, and he'd spent, he's still there, he's been there almost from the beginning, and he's white, and he said, if you come as a very focused, together person ready to give and not take. You have to become fully prepared and listen. You have to come to listen and serve. And that the people that are going there who are treating it like Burning Man are sacrilegiously destroying the whole purpose of everything, really.
It's not just Burning Man people, though. I think that's a bit of bad press there, but they tried to make... I didn't think that article, that was in the Huffington Post, I think, and it just did a grave disservice to
his point was, if you go if you're focused. You don't go there to have them
I would take
care of you, and you don't go there to be babysat.
I agree.
And you don't go there to be fed. You come with food and preparation, ready to listen.
Yes, but here's the thing that white people haven't really done. They haven't really done their decolonization work. Unless you've been to some decolonization workshops or really studied this, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about. And I've been doing that for a number of years, and even me, I was like, how am I displaying white privilege? It's hidden, so these are well-meaning people that want to be allies but don't really know how to behave. So yes, go with more. But I mean, I just was silent the whole time. That was my way of dealing with it, to just listen and just keep my mouth shut. But I went to lots of meetings where white people wanted to be the strongest voice in the room, and they would talk over, and they were I'll just give you some examples of cultural insensitivity. Was interrupting any Indigenous people when they're talking to each other. When you see people, that's just a sort of common courtesy, right? If you two are talking in a room, am I going to butt in and come and say, hey, I've got this donation, I've got this? No, you wait till that's finished and look for the moment. Other ones were women not wearing skirts, people smoking in the tents and things. Don't smoke, it's like drug and alcohol free. And then there was people kissing, making out. What do you call that when they snog? In front of tribal elders, I saw that, and smooching and all kinds of... They don't do that in the Lakota culture. They're very polite, and they have a decorum.
Also about this, can you tell the story? I don't know if we can tell this on air, about digging in the earth and the placenta. Can you tell?
No, I'd rather not tell that story. Gosh, that's even worse.
Well, but there were... We could do a kind of Reader's Digest version. I mean, they were digging up the earth, where, like Raven said, if you even took a spoonful of the earth, that was sacrilegious.
Well, here's the thing: is people were sticking their tent pegs in, and it's when I arrived, I asked permission. Can I camp here? Please, can I come onto your land? Please, can I stay here? And that, rather than just coming in, I saw a lot of white people just coming in and setting up where they damn well pleased. And like, well, this looks like a good spot. I like the tree shelter here, and I've got a view of the river. And I was like, this isn't even your land. Like, ask, where's a good place for me to camp? I've got a kid. Is this good? Can I make you this offering? Another thing I saw was a guy in a lunch queue, a white guy, and it's the Lakota tradition that women and children eat first. They all do. The men have to just wait. That's just the way it is. And this guy shouted at this Indigenous woman who was going to the front of the queue, hey, I've been waiting here 20 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you can't just butt in there. And I was like, there were so many incidences like that where I just felt ashamed to be white.
Well, fortunately, the elders realize this is a huge learning experience for all of us, which doesn't make it okay. But we have to, this is a wonderful opportunity for everybody to grow, if we can just keep our heads about it.
So even the people who are feeling the right feelings are still ugly Americans, is basically what it's about.
Exactly.
Well, how
did you feel about the veterans apologizing to the elders?
Wasn't that amazing? That was so powerful. Did you watch that online?
Yes.
You too?
That was so beautiful.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God.
And
that's the first time anybody's done that.
Well, that's right. And I did a report back last night in the what's it called? The Presbyterian Church here in Point Reyes, and it was me, Noni from the Spirit Matters, and Constance Washburn, who lives over in Lagunitas and used to run. What did she used to run? Sorry, the food thing.
Food bank?
No. Constance Washburn. She used to be She was. Gosh, Constance, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I've got brain spasm. I love you. Anyway, she came and spoke, and they spoke about their experience, and I had asked the postmaster, which is Lynn, from Inverness Post Office, because I knew she was Sierra Miwok and I wanted an Indigenous voice to come and talk. And she spoke about that apology, and she was so moved by it because she said this is the first time, as you just said, that this has ever happened, this kind of public apology.
You know, and they said, we're so sorry. They kneeled before the elders. It was very powerful visually as well. And I'm going to just not give a direct quote.
I have the direct quote.
Good.
So, and it was Wes Clark Jr. who gave this quote. We fought you, we took your land, we signed treaties that we broke, we stole minerals from your sacred hills, we blasted the faces of our president into your sacred mountain, our presidents. We didn't respect you, we polluted your earth, and we've hurt you in so many ways, but we've come to say that we are sorry. We are at your service, and we beg for your forgiveness. And then Chief Leonard Crowdog of the Lakota Nation forgave them and called for world peace, and stating that we do not own the land owns us. There wasn't a dry eye in the room.
It was so beautiful. And you can watch it online, people. You can go to YouTube and watch it online. It's like one of the most moving things I believe you'll ever see.
Or you can call us right now, 415-663-8492.
And this is KWMR's weekly Let's Talk call-in show with co-hosts Raven Gray, Paul Reffell, and me, Mary Frank. And again, to join our conversation, please call us at 415-663-8492. That's 415-663-8492.
And yes, do call in. You know, we're not going to beat you up if you want to support the pipeline. So if there are any pipeline supporters out there, we'll be glad to listen to you, and we'll be very calm about our responses, won't we?
Of course, this is KWMR.
All voices are respected.
All voices are welcome here, please. 415-663-8492. So here's a little story from, I don't know where this is from, Reuters, I think. Trump advisors aim to privatize oil-rich Indian reservations to make it better for them because, you know, the way it is right now, they're not, the Indian population is not reaping enough rewards, and they want to go in and find the $1.5 trillion worth of reserves of oil and gas on the native lands. So they'll privatize them. They'll sell the native lands to these companies. So it'll be much more efficient. What do you think?
I have that press release here. Tom Goldtooth, who's the Dallas Goldtooth's father, he's the founder, I believe, of the Indigenous Environmental Network, and a member of the Navajo and Dakota tribes, has said privatization has been the goal since colonization, to strip native nations of their sovereignty. I mean, he's opposed. I'm definitely opposed. I couldn't believe it when I saw that press release.
Oh, I don't know. You couldn't believe it, really?
I couldn't believe that really? They're going to privatize Native American reservations? Public lands are up for grabs.
They're just treaties.
Yeah, they're just treaties to be broken.
Why not now? It's money. It's the capitalist system. We have to do everything. You know, it'll be jobs. There'll be jobs.
Yeah, and who cares that we've given our word? And you know, I want to just include in a response to that. This was something that came out from Through the Buckskin Curtain. I don't know if anybody heard that or read that, but the point they make is like stepping back from the particulars of this struggle to protect the land and water sacred to the Lakota Sioux and to stop the continued expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure. You know, this is the other side, Paul. It's important to recognize the significance of the inclusion of the indigenous spiritual attitude in social justice and environmental activism. The wider and deeper view of the human relationship with spirit and nature, calling attention to the sacred fire, sacred water, sacred sky, sacred Mother Earth, not just in words, but in the way we feel and the way we move about, is transformative and infectious. It holds keys to the healing power needed to shift humanity from the destructive trajectory we seem locked into. This, to me, is like one of the most inspiring aspects about this entire event, is that it puts a light on the new way, and it is the way of healing that if we don't do, we're not going to have a planet.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, on the ground, especially in Canada and near the tar fields and the oil shale fields where the extraction is happening and near the fracking fields, there's an epidemic of sexual violence against Indigenous women around the Great Lakes area. As they say, Executive Director of the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center says violence against our earth and water is perpetuated on a daily basis against those things absolutely vital to our very existence. We can't be surprised that people who would rape our land are also raping our people. So
it's very similar to what was going on in slavery.
Conscious existence on our planet and accepting fault where fault lies. I think we are all to blame for what's happening up there. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to join a protest, even if it isn't Native Americans doing it next time? There are several fundraising things. I just want to mention this one. There's a Standing Rock art benefit. 40 items on display, some great stuff there through December. Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 5 at Bolinas Gallery in Wharf Road in Bolinas. They're selling art for...
Is that this Saturday and Sunday?
It says through December.
Oh.
So every weekend, I guess. Yeah.
There's I'm looking for my notes here, but there's a ceremony prayer on Saturday as well, the 10th. Standing Rock Prayer Ceremony.com, I think. They've been doing coordinated events so that you can stand or sit or whatever and pray with Standing Rock at the same time they are lending their prayers.
Now, you said people who want to send money, you say those funds are blocked, Raven. I didn't quite understand that.
No, I didn't say that. I said
that
there was some issues with... Okay, so we didn't really talk about the... Oh, we got a caller. Let's talk to them, shall we, instead?
Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hey, it's Martine calling from the gallery, the show.
Ah, great.
Salinas.
Lovely.
And I am hoping to arrange an evening of some poetry. It'll be a circle where anybody who wants to share a poem, something they have written or something written by someone else, will have a chance to share it with the circle. And we've done these before, and they're always really fun.
Yeah,
so if anybody would like to join in that, please give me a call. I haven't figured out the date and the time yet, so there's that. And then I hope to do some singing down there also, maybe on the weekends, late afternoon or early evening, if we can get permission.
So the art benefit is going all through December every weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
There will be an auction. Hang on a second.
Going all through December?
There will be an auction on the 24th from 3 to 5 at the gallery.
Oh, an auction on the 24th from 3 to 5 at Bolinas Gallery to benefit.
That's the one in the old barn.
Yeah, wonderful.
And please do come in. We'll have other things happening there, and it's a really, really beautiful show. There's a beautiful altar that's constructed to honor Standing Rock, and I'd love to just have participation in whatever way.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Raven, can we clarify where people can... Oh, thank you. I thought we said goodbye. Can you clarify where we can contribute? Was it? You said
yes.
the vets couldn't get the money that was contributed.
Well, what I said was okay, so maybe I didn't say it clearly, but 4,000 to 4,500 veterans showed up at Standing Rock last weekend, ready for direct action.
Yeah.
We're told that they could not participate in direct action. They put, I believe, a bit of a strain on camp resources because that's a big influx of people to suddenly feed and house and clothe. I think they raised over $1 million through their... I don't know if it was GoFundMe, but there was a fundraising for the veterans to come, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a significant amount of money. It was over $1 million. I don't remember what it was. But that money has got blocked. That's what I heard yesterday. And the money, they're not able to access that money to feed and clothe them. A lot of the veterans are now in the casino and the community space at Cannonball.
But is there a way to get funds to Standing Rock?
Yes, there's lots of ways to get
What's
funds,
the best way?
And I can tell you some ways that I would recommend.
Mm-hmm, that's what we need to hear.
I would donate to KWMR Oyate, which is the warriors on the ground that are doing the security.
Can you spell that for our listeners?
Or is there a link?
Is there a link?
But I don't have it, so you'd have to look it up yourself.
Standing Rock Warriors or something.
I would look up IKTEWICHASUOYATE. They really need your money. Or you can email me and I'll get it to you. So the Standing Rock Medic and Healer Council, type that into Google or Facebook. There is the Oceti Sakowin Camp.org. They are the main camp. They need money. There's the Lakota Peoples Law Project. Highly recommend that you go to them. That's www.lakotalaw.org. That's run, at least in partnership with Chase Arnaiz, who I would trust with my life. There's definitely Indigenous Rising Media, Indigenous Environmental Network. Digital Smoke Signals is run by Myron Dewey. He's amazing. His live feeds have been just phenomenal, and he needs support. I can't remember how many drones he's had shot out of the sky, and he's really, been a #1 media source. So those are the Sacred Stone Camp as well. They also need money. And then there's Standing Rock Sioux Tribe itself is also raising money. There's so many. I definitely recommend that you don't donate to people's personal GoFundMe accounts, even if they seem like white allies. If you've got money to give it straight to the Indigenous people on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, I don't know. No, we've still got a few minutes. Give us a call, 415-663-8492. Do call in, please, with any updates you have, with any fundraisers you're doing. It would be nice to know.
If we have, we're going to be closing up soon. I just really want people to not take their eyes off of Standing Rock at this time, to not believe the media. Here's another piece. Let me bust this myth, is that I saw on Fox News and the Huffington Post, which I linked on my Facebook, and I believe other news sources, I haven't researched it heavily, saying that because of the blizzard, Morton County Police mobilized, plowed the roads, and put up emergency shelters and evacuated people and gave them food and shelter. And that is complete BS, okay? So on the ground, the roads have not been plowed. Morton County Police are nowhere in sight. The security have been working like crazy to get people back and forth up these icy, crazy roads. Lots of road accidents because, it's hard to drive in blizzard conditions. So they're just giving that message out there to the mainstream media, and people are believing it. It's shocking,
Look what happened during the election.
Post-truth. There we go.
It's post-truth.
But so what is, in the next week, what do you think is going to happen up there?
I think there's going to be, the eye is going to be on the lawsuit, for sure, to see because if that fails, then we were given a number to, complain to federal marshal, and they said, oh, no, go to the local people. I said, who's going to police the police? I was one of the people that called. I said, they're the ones that are not enforcing Obama's dictate, And so it went back and forth, and they were apparently getting swamped with calls, and she tried to deflect me, and I said, but, she said, it's a local issue. I said, no, it's not. It's a federal issue because it came from Obama, and it has to, his what it's called, edict needs to be enforced. And let's take that caller.
Yeah, hi, we have a caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hey, Paul, it's Marcel.
Marcel, hi.
Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Great show, as usual.
Thank you.
Look, I really admire what they're doing in Standing Rock, and I was thinking how I can help. I have a very low retirement income, less than $1,000. But I'm making some festive pastries for the holidays. And if people order them, I will donate 30% of what they order to the Standing Rock Fund.
Nice.
So can I just give my number, and then we'll give them we can email them the menu.
Sure, you can do that.
Okay, so it's 707-527-6297. 707-527-6297. These are organic, natural pastries, great fruit cakes and pecan pies and Scotty and other great things. And I'll donate 30% of what I sell to the Standing Rock Fund.
Thank you so much. That's great, Marcel. There you go.
Thank you.
I'll call you again to find out how to get the money to you.
Oh, not to us.
Donate it directly. The people can just send 30% to the fund and 70% to me.
As Raven was saying, just send the money directly to the Indigenous Peoples, like the Standing Rock
Oceti Sakowin Camp.org is the best
Camp.
place.
There you go.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Marcel.
All right, that's the least I can do. I mean, okay, keep up the good work with you people.
Thanks, man.
Okay,
Cheers.
I think that's all we have time for. I wish to thank all of our listeners and our callers today for your participation. I hope you'll tune in every Thursday at 11 because your voice really does matter. KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members.
And next week we will either have another follow-up show on Standing Rock, depending on what's happening, or and this is a very different kind of controversy, and a true change of gears, which is food as medicine.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think it's ever been more important for people, especially people who are engaged in the struggle, so to speak, to be very healthy. And these are going to be ways of doing that that's not going to cost a lot of money. There's a lot of food consciousness in West Marin, but it's all about lovely food, but a little bit has to do with how you're going to get well with food.
Okay. This has been Let's Talk on KWMR with your hosts, Mary Frank, Raven Gray, and I am Paul Reffell.